premise of the project is a pen pal-esque exchange, except instead of traditional letters, students are exchanging more creative letter and art letter that is a piece of artwork with some creative writing. So that's the idea behind the name Art Pals. So the mission of my project is to design, facilitate, and sustain a cross-cultural art exchange between students in Boulder, Colorado, and Chahul in the El Quiche department in Guatemala, and these are middle school students. And then these exchanges will lead to a larger scale collaborative mural project, which will also be exchanged, and then a public art exhibition of all the students' work. So a more detailed description of the project: students in both locations will essentially communicate through artwork and creative writing, or what I call these art letters. And in doing so, they're using the power of creative expression, visual artwork to perhaps transcend language barriers as well as different cultural and geographical barriers, and then reach a deeper level of connection to another student in a different country. And then for each exchange, for each art project that students send to each other, I design curriculum, and I designed this curriculum with themes of identity and culture and this idea of a global village and global storytelling. So students will be exploring those themes and exploring those larger ideas through their artwork, which I think is really important. And then they will also, as a larger extension of the smaller exchanges that students send back and forth, students will also visualize and imagine a global community through a collaborative mural project that I will facilitate both in Boulder and in Chahul with scholars as my co-facilitators. And then finally, throughout the process, there's space built for sharing and reflecting on the students' artwork and the connections that they're making through this process. And so the purpose behind my project, the inspiration, the why, is diverse, but first off, to explore creative expression as a means of international communication. So how can art and visual arts really transcend language barriers and cultural barriers and connect people on a deeper level in a different way than normal day-to-day conversation or traditional letters? And then also to foster opportunity for creative and cultural expression within the youth education experience. So I think oftentimes creative expression is overlooked in the school curriculum, especially when funding is limited. And I think it's really important to make the space an opportunity for this to be integrated into an educational experience. And then finally, to provide youth in both Boulder and Chahul with a strong sense of community established through this communication through artwork and this relationship building, and then also broaden this community in a global way, because students are communicating across cultural and geographical borders. And I think that can be really empowering to connect your local community and broaden it to a global community when you're connected to a different student in a different country. And so I just want to speak to why cross-cultural communication is important to me and how I see it fitting in, being an important part of a student's educational experience. And so I've really developed this idea of communication through my work in YGL, interacting with diverse communities through community service, and also in my own family, being a second-generation immigrant. What is communication? And to me, that is someone listening and someone telling a story and then someone listening to that story. And I think that's really key in terms of developing cultural understanding, is just storytelling, sharing these stories, making the conversation about what are our stories and where we come from. And that can really help with a lot of barriers to communication. And then just taking that communication as the key center to building these global relationships between students in Boulder and in Guatemala, and just really developing that can be really empowering to a young student. And knowing from my own experience in YGL, interacting with and communicating with people, diverse people, for example, in we volunteer at Alsip Elementary School and working with elementary students there, or journeying this summer to the Navajo Nation and hearing Tim and Belinda, their host family stories, is really empowering. And then finally, and just providing this educational opportunity, I think is really important in today's world. It's, globalization and all that. It's really important to take advantage of opportunities to both develop an understanding of our own cultural heritage, but also intercultural understanding between cultures. And I think that communicating across cultures does these things in tandem.